reference tracks. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most important tools you can use to up your production and mixing game is to use reference tracks. Now, it does take brutal honesty, right? You want to compete at the highest levels. So therefore, you must find tracks in your genre, whether you're a producer making beats, whether you're, writing songs, whether you're trying to write cues for television or movies, you must use references in those genres to up your game. It is probably one of the most important things I could tell you. My name is Doug Beck. I've mixed and remixed some of the biggest artists in the world. I've composed, produced, and mixed thousands of television cues for over 100 television shows worldwide. I'll tell you a little story. Years ago in New York City, I had produced this electronic music EP literally in my studio apartment. Through that, I got some opportunity to remix some major label artists. Now, I wouldn't have considered myself a mixer. I was a keyboard player, and I guess I was a producer, even though at that time I really didn't even understand completely what a producer did. But all of a sudden, I'm given these opportunities to remix some of these big artists along with my partner, DJ Boris. We had a production team called Boris and Beck. So one of the hardest lessons I learned was our first couple of mixes came out. There would be several different mixes from different remixers on, one piece of vinyl or a CD, whatever. And listening back to them was a sobering experience because I felt like my mixes really lacked. I realized right then, okay, if I want to compete at the highest level, I have to compare my mixes to the best mixes I can find in my genre. And I have to be brutally honest with myself because if I'm not, I'm never going to get there. And, it's a learning process. Oh, God, how does he get that sound? How does he get it so loud? How's that EQ work? And these are things that are all part of the journey. But reference mixes are one of the things, if you're not using them right now, you should be. When I was out in Los Angeles scoring television shows with composer Doug DeAngelis, we had this thing every day, man. When we got into the studio, we would tune up. And what that meant was we would listen to some amazing references. If we were scoring a drama, we would pull up some amazing drama references. Now, this was not to copy what was happening there. Certainly that was not the goal, but it was to get our ears and our heads tuned up so that we were ready to write for that day. If you're frustrated that your mixes don't sound as good as what you're hearing in the wild, whether it be music streaming or on television or whatever, I strongly recommend you start using reference mixes to level up your game. In a few minutes here, I'm going to jump on the computer and show you what I use for reference mixes. I use this plugin. There's several out there. But this one's really good because it allows you to load in several different mixes. It allows you to match volumes. It allows you to really compare your mix to another mix. Now, this is also super important if you're an up-and-coming mixer and you're getting a reference mix from an artist that you're working on, right? A rough mix. So you want to be able to compare what you're doing to their rough mix, and you want to make sure it's better. The only way to do that is to use reference mixes and to be brutally honest with yourself in this process. Okay, let's take a look at a Pro Tools session of mine, and I'll show you the tools that I use for references and how I use them. This is Metric AB. This is what I use for reference tracks. It's an amazing tool. We're going to jump on the computer here in a minute, and I'll actually show it to you in action. But basically, it allows you to load in a bunch of different reference tracks, immediately A/B them using the A/B button, compare different frequency ranges. You can isolate the bass, the mids, the highs, whatever, and compare your mix. It says here this is $279. Plugin Alliance always has this on sale. I believe this weekend they're running a sale for $29 for this plugin, $29.95 for any plugin, which includes this Metric AB. Excellent plugin for using reference tracks. It makes it very seamless and very easy. So let's actually jump onto a session and see how it works. Here I've opened a Pro Tools session of a record that I'm revisiting from a client of mine, Cy Kernan. He sent me a rough mix, and gave me some instructions. He wanted more realistic drums. He wanted this sonically to sound wider, to do what it is I do. He's obviously a composer and a singer and not a mixer. So what I did is I used this program I've been telling you about, and I put his rough mix in slot 1. Now you can have up to 16 different reference mixes. You don't want a loudness bias. So you want to match the volumes between what you're working on and the reference so that you're getting an honest picture of what's going on. Here's my mix. And to hear his, you simply hit the B button. And you can match the audio. Now you can match B to A to B, match to the lowest volume, or match to minus 14 LUFS, which is common for a lot of streaming platforms. So you can hear the difference. I've replaced the drums. Now this is still a mix in progress, so we're not done yet. And I actually like some of the tightness of his mix. But he wanted more realistic drums. There's my mix as of now. As I work, I can use Metric AB to compare my mix to what's happening. Now, as you compare things like loudness, correlation, and spectrum, you can look at each file separately. You can look at a single file. You can look at it in dual mode, or you can look at it superimposed on one another, which is kind of cool. Locked and loaded under darkening skies. Our rocks eroded and we're living rent-free. Original mix. My mix seamlessly locked together. I can go in here, I can isolate the high end. I can isolate the mids, the low mids. So you can really get a feel for what's happening and really do a solid comparison. I miss the facts, I miss information. I'm playing bingo on the evil. This is great for using and comparing your production and mix to a finished master. I didn't do that in this example because I don't want to get hit with a copyright strike. But I often take, if I'm mixing a country record with lots of acoustic guitars and a lot of space and a really present vocal, I'll bring in my favorite tracks of different artists that, finished records. I'll bring those into my session, and the entire time I'm going back and forth and comparing my mix to the mastered record. Obviously, in this case, I'm comparing the client Cy Kernan's rough mix to my mix, along with looking at the notes to make sure that I'm achieving the notes that he wants. He wanted more realistic drums. He wanted a wider overall mix, a little more lush mix. And even though this mix isn't finished, I think I've come close to achieving that already. Let's give a quick listen to the original. I like it. I like the tightness of it. He wanted the drums to be a little more realistic, a little wider. Again, it's a work in progress, but all along the way, I can check myself. The worst thing you can do is deliver a mix to a client and they can't hear their notes, or they aren't drastic enough for them to go, what did you do? You want them to be able to notice right away the difference between their rough mix and what you've done in the notes. But 16 different references in, you can isolate different aspects of the mix, the highs, the mids, the lows. You can look at it on a graph. You can separate it. You can superimpose it. You can match the volumes so that you're not getting a loudness bias, because that's important. Are there ways to use reference mixes without a program like this? Yes, I used to do it all the time. I would bring the reference mix on a track in my DAW. If you're going to just bring a reference mix into your session and not use a plugin like this, you want to make sure that your reference mix is not going through your master processing. It's really important. This particular plugin is sold by Plugin Alliance. It's part of their bundles. They also sell it individually. Go and sign up for a free trial. If you sign up for a free trial, you'll get emails about sales. They have this stuff on sale all the time. I think I mentioned previously in the video that would have been July 4th weekend. By the time you see this, that's come and gone. But it was on sale for $29. They run amazing sales all the time. You can download I believe it's a 30-day demo. So that's a Metric AB. And this is a process I've always used with reference mixes, tuning up my ears ahead of time. This is a very competitive business. So you want to make sure you're competing at the highest level by comparing your music, your mixes, your productions to the best out there. And that's how you get better. This is a brand new music production channel, and I would love you to be a part of it. If you'd like to subscribe, give me a like, give me a comment. Thanks so much for hanging out. And let me know what kind of content you'd like to see. And we'll see you on the next one. All right. Be good and make music.